Welcome everybody. Welcome on our webinar today that's about how to improve your advertising ROI in this year in 2021, where there's a lot of challenges for performance marketers around the globe. This webinar is also being recorded. So, if you have to jump off in the middle, don't worry, we'll send you the recording later. You guys are all muted. However, you can ask questions over Slido, and that's all fine. And at the end of the webinar, we'll try to tackle as many questions as possible. Now, let me introduce quickly myself and Revenue. My name is Pavel, and I am the co-founder and CEO of Revenue, and we are here to help e-commerce businesses, and we have been here since 2015 to boost their marketing ROI via doing analytics, attribution, and optimization of their spend. And we really are here to accelerate revenue growth and increase profits to our clients thanks to data integration and AI-powered attribution. Now, let me go straight to the challenges and issues that most of us are facing this year. So as I was saying, we all know that the advertising landscape in this year is very complicated. And for instance, we know that from the statistics that we run on our clients, that our clients are running on average 12 different ad platforms. So there are 12 different platforms that they use to attract clients, and that actually makes customer journeys really complicated because a lot of times these advertising sources actually overlap on the same customers. So long gone are the days where it was just Google ads, because today there is a lot of price comparison sites, affiliates, social media, etc., etc. New channels are coming up all the time. On top of that, this year, it seems, is especially challenging also in the area of tracking and analytics. We're probably aware of Apple now not only now blocking or purging cookies on web browsing, but also recently on applications as well. Google famously wants to add third-party cookies by next year. And, it's not only are the challenges in tracking, but also in evaluating. So for instance, some of you I know were using or are still using Facebook attribution to evaluate how your Facebook ads are doing, not only in terms of last click or SEC conversions, but the real value. That tool is also being retired later this year. And not only technical challenges are there, but also I think in terms of competition, because competition is ever growing. After COVID and during COVID, a lot of companies jumped into e-commerce, and now more than ever, there are more and more companies competing for the same keywords, competing for the same placement, and you've probably seen your CPCs going up. So there's a lot of challenges this year, but don't worry, really, because I'm here today to tell you that this all could be overcome. And I'm here also to show you 3 practical examples of how our clients are actually improving marketing ROI in, despite and even in these challenging times. And after we go through that, as I said, there will also be Q&A, and you can already start posting questions on Slido. If you go to slido and #revenue, you can already post questions there. So let me now spare a bit on customer journeys. Today, the customer journeys do not consist of single touch points. Customers engage with several ads from the same brand before they make a conversion. And yet, what marketers see in Google Analytics is often last click attribution, which does not really reflect the actual customer behavior. So when marketers make decisions based on such data, the outcome is suboptimal, and they're not actually actually achieving full potential of their advertising. So that is to say that if you are still using last click to evaluate the performance of your campaigns, you're not really doing something outright wrong, because 90% of the market quite actually is still using last click, although the number has moved in the recent years towards more sophisticated models. However, it's not that you're doing something completely wrong, but it is just that you are not using your budget to the best of its potential. And there probably really are opportunities that you could take advantage of to gain maybe another 10, 20, 30%. And that could really, these numbers could really be significant for the bottom line of your company. And oftentimes customers ask me, what really is the difference between last click measurement and data-driven AI-powered attribution? And frankly, in most cases, it really is within the range between 10 to 20%. However, if you dig a little bit deeper, it is not really unusual to come across a huge delta. As for instance, in this example, when with one of our clients, we were evaluating his Google Ads display ads performance, and seeing via the lens of last click, the ROI on those campaigns were only 0.54, which was not really a good outcome, and it would seem that the campaigns are really underperforming. However, when we plugged it in and ran the attribution, the client actually saw that the real ROI was 1.6, which was much more okay, which were in the positive ranges and positive numbers. So this was really something that the client uncovered. And for us, it's not rare to see such outcomes. We have seen clients that completely, for instance, stopped investing in some channels, completely cut them off, and took the budgets into some other channels where the ROI actually look much more favorable. So this actually is the $1,000,000 question. How shall I allocate my marketing budget to get the highest ROI? And regardless of the e-commerce vertical and whether the goal for you is revenue growth or improvement in profitability, the underlying situation is usually the same. You have limited resources and you have targets to be met. You also have a limited amount of time and only a limited things you can do and you can try out. So where to start and how to actually get to answer this question. The answer obviously lies in the data, and the paradox of this situation is that everyone has the data. All of you who are looking right now, watching this webinar, your company has the right data to make the right decisions. The only problem is that the data are siloed and disjointed from one another. So that's why actually, one of the main functions that Revenue is doing is it is taking these disparate data sources, data from your advertising platforms, from your internal system, from your web analytics. It is putting all the data together. It is applying AI-powered attribution on top of it, and it is actually giving out actionable insights so that you can make quick decisions and take advantage of the biggest opportunities and of the quite frankly low-hanging fruit that could be found in the channel mix and the marketing mix of most e-commerce businesses still. So what is really the issue, and why so small amount of companies is actually able to put this data together? And the thing is, it is not really that straightforward, right? So you have three main data type sources advertising platform, web analytics, and your internal systems, whether you call it a CRM or ERP or order system or whatever else you call it. And it is usually pretty straightforward to pair web analytics data with your internal systems data, and that is usually done through order ID. But if you look at all of these data sources, there is no one column, there is no one variable where you could just take it from those systems and unify everything. Unfortunately, such a thing doesn't exist, and that's what makes the issue so complicated. So the way we are actually overcoming this is pairing according to different columns and different variables. So as I said, web analytics and internal system paired through order ID, and then web analytics. And for web analytics advertising platforms, we have actually devised a solution and algorithm that is automatically pairing the names of your campaigns, ad groups, ad sets, etc., that could be found in your advertising platforms with the UTMs, so your source medium campaign, etc., that could be found in your web analytics. And you are probably familiar with the method from Google Ads, because Google Ads is natively integrated into Google Analytics, so it is actually paired this way. But if an average, as we said, an average e-commerce player is using 12 different platforms to advertise on, we don't really believe having just Google Ads paired this way is enough, right? So that's why we have a special system where you can pair all of these platforms with your web analytics, and then also with the orders, which then allows us to see the whole marketing funnel. So this way, you can actually see everything from investment and through all of the steps in the funnel, all the way down to profit. And that allows you to say and distinguish such things like which investment is actually working for me, which channels are working for me, which campaigns are working for me, in terms of not only web conversions, because that number is often wrong and misleading, but also in terms of real conversions of the goods that was actually delivered to the door of your customers and was actually paid for and not returned. You can also see the real revenue, which channels works in terms of real revenue, and also which channels work in terms of real profit, because we take into consideration also your canceled orders, returns, and cost of goods sold. And that is allowed by the unique way that we pair all the data. So now let me finally come into the three very specific examples of how you can utilize a solution like revenue to improve your marketing ROI, today in 2021, in June 2021. Why not? The first thing is that revenue can give you is quality time, because you all have your marketing data with revenue in one place with no effort on your side. So that includes advertising costs and also gross profit. And there's no longer any need for you to keep logging into various platforms to see performance of each. Everything is in one place. And we know that to some of our clients, that could save up to 50 hours per month of manual work, of switching between different systems, trying to put data together. And that time that is freed and saved up doing this menial work can actually be used in a much better way, and can be used for what your boss would actually like you to use your time on, actually taking decisions on how to improve your campaigns and how to get better ROI and how to get more revenue and more profit for the company. Now, let me show you quickly how such a thing can really easily be achieved in revenue. So here we're looking at Process Explorer, which already has the whole funnel that we were talking about, at your fingertips. So if you want to, for instance, visualize what was your marketing spend, what was your maybe ROI. So let's put here return on marketing investment, and what was maybe your revenue. You can put all that into a single chart, and you can obviously have a look at your data, aggregated by all of the countries or websites that you're running. You can also maybe just filter on Germany or one country, and you can also see performance just for specific channels. So you can maybe have a look at AdRaw or Bing or your Facebook, your Google Ads, your newsletters, etc. And also on specific campaigns. So you can also just boil it down to one very specific campaign, and you can see how one specific campaign was behaving and over time in terms of any KPIs and metrics that you would like to see. So this allows you to really see what's going on within your marketing mix, and you can get to any data point, within literally 2 clicks with no data gathering efforts on your part. And again, just to repeat, that can save a lot of your valuable time for some work with much more added value. Now, let's say that we also want to see, what actually works and what needs improving. And you can do it just by, looking into details. And if I just, again, select all the countries and all the campaigns here, then, for instance, you can see that, if we want to look, for instance, again at ROI, return on marketing investment, that in certain countries you have a higher ROI, in certain countries you have a low ROI. You can also visualize that maybe in terms of cost per conversion, and you can again see where is the cost per conversion higher or lower, and you can really drill down on any dimensions. Right now we're looking at countries, but we can very easily also, for instance, look at channels. So which channels have higher ROI and which channels have lower ROI. And you can actually see here that Google this is cost per conversion. So Google Display right now has a very high cost per conversion, and maybe AdRaw has very low cost per conversion. So in this way, you can start seeing opportunities like where you should actually be putting more budget. And then the only one remaining question is, it is quite nice that, for instance, AdWords or Facebook here, they have a lower cost per conversion, but what if maybe the channels are already used up, maybe they're already saturated? So how do I know how much budget can I actually put in there? And for this, we have a third screen that I like to show you right now, that we call budget optimizer, and it's coming up. Budget optimizer for us is the answer to a lot of marketers' calls for having data and seeing the output of data in a really actionable way. So what budget optimizer is telling you, and let me quickly just switch it on the example of the Germany, website right here, is what you should do to better optimize your spend and your channel split overall. So you can, whether you can tell Budget Optimizer what your goals are. So whether that's, increasing revenue or increasing profit, and what your budget constraints are. So whether it's you want to, increase spending, you want to keep spending on the same level, or you want to decrease spending. For all the scenarios, you can model out the best possible outcome. And in this particular example, what Budget Optimizer is suggesting down here and you can see that in the total row, is to increase spending by 5K, which we are estimating should bring in additional 30K on revenue, 16 or 17K on profit, and 11.5K on marketing profit. So that's 11.5K of new money generated just with better distribution of your budget. Now, how do we actually know? How does the system know what to recommend? So let me show a detail maybe of a few channels. So right now we're looking at ad roll here, and what you see is your historical data points. So how much you were actually spending and how much revenue you were getting out of this channel, obviously after the data-driven calculation is factored into the model. And that way, we can actually see what is the mathematical function that best represents your data set. And we can see that this ad roll is already starting to be a bit saturated because the curve is already flattening out a bit. So the recommendation here would be to spend a little less in this channel and take this budget and put it into maybe some other channel that has a much higher local ROI. So for instance, if you look at Google Shopping here, it doesn't look as flat yet. So there is a huge potential for growth. So it's a much better idea to take the budget and put it into this channel so that you can actually achieve the most overall ROI out of your budget. So let me just recap this real quick. Revenue can allow you to save time that you can allocate to better tasks, and you can really allocate it to discovering growth and profit opportunities for your company. And you can not only see where the opportunity is, but also how big the opportunity is and how you can really maximize each channel effectiveness towards your goals. And because we've been around since 2015, and we currently have about 100 million euros under management, and we're working with e-commerce companies from all the verticals, whether that's, let's say, furniture, whether that's fashion retail, whether that's hardware stores, or really any other vertical. We can really see what is working, which strategies are working for budget optimization for our clients and which are not. And what we typically see is that with leveraging this technology and focusing on the opportunities, our clients are typically able to improve their KPIs in the range between 10 to 20%. And the KPI is always different for every client. So some clients, they currently need to chase revenue, so their KPI is increasing revenue. Some clients need to save budget, so their KPI is maybe to decrease marketing spend and retain the same level of revenue. And some clients, they might be okay on the side of revenue, but they might be, chasing profits and needing really to increase profitability or turn actually loss into a profit. So whatever your big business KPI is, with the right use of data, you can actually achieve it quite easily within a couple months. So with that being said, the only question remains where to start. And I think I have good news for you today, because we have solutions for e-commerce companies of all sizes. So if you're just starting out and maybe don't have any budget for analytics yet, you can take advantage of our data connectors product, which allows you to automate extraction of advertising data from all ad platforms, and you can actually get it for free. And I don't mean free trial. There is a forever free tier up to a certain amount of connectors, so you can forever use this product for free if you'd like. However, if you're maybe a little bit more further down the road of let's say marketing maturity, or the path that you've walked with your company already, or if your marketing spends are already really huge, I would really encourage you guys to try out our data integration and attribution suite, which, by the way, also includes the data connectors for free. And you can start, use all the high-end features and all the high-end functionalities that I was just showing a couple minutes ago. And you can actually take advantage of both of those options right now. So here are the links. You can either go to the connectors page, and you can start using the connectors right away, right after this webinar is done. And I would also, really encourage you to maybe schedule a demo with one of our product experts, and we will be more than happy to walk you through and to talk with you what are your challenges in the middle of 2021 in terms of measurement and in terms of optimization, and more than happy to recommend solutions that will really help you achieve your KPIs and your goals. Now, with that being said, I would like to thank you very much for your attention here. And as we promised, now we can take questions on Slido. So you can head out to slido and #revenue. There's already a couple questions here that I can see. And in the coming 15 minutes, I'll try to tackle some of those questions if I will be able to do that. So the most recent one is, how fresh is your data and what is the latency? So we refresh all the data actually daily, and all the loads and everything is running overnight. So when you come to your work in the morning, you always have fresh data, and you can actually look at the performance of the previous day, and you can take advantage of the data that's there. Another question is, what attribution model do you use? So thank you for the question. That's there's a short and long answer to this, because we've been in the game for so long, and we've seen a lot of other maybe attribution companies come and go. We've also been through quite a journey in terms of what attribution models we were using or are using, and we first were utilizing a model that's based on game theory, and that's called Shapley value. It's a similar methodology that Google was using for a long time in their attribution product. Later we realized that had some shortcomings, so we implemented a new model that was based on Markov chains. And then, later we also realized there's even better way to do this. So currently, long story short, currently we're using a AI-powered machine learning models that are actually training on your data. They get trained on your data, and then they are predicting what is the probability that certain touch points or channels are increasing the conversion rates. and then they're actually assigning the value, the correct value to every single session that's going on your website. So that's what we're using currently, and we've been running these models in parallel on our clients for a long time, and we've actually tested that this model is much more robust, and it actually works also on smaller amounts of data, because the model is looking at 30 to 40 different variables on each session, so it can really train even on the small data set. It is much more robust than the previous model. So as I was saying, the suite is now ready for clients of all sizes and shapes, and the attribution models are now working for all types of clients. Okay, what else do we have here? So how does your app tie marketing costs from platforms to real sales? So for this, maybe I would like to, okay. I would like to go back a couple slides and, back to this slide where I was talking just about that, where what we're doing is that we're using different data columns or variables to pair and string all this data together. So for pairing web data with your internal data or your order data, we would use order ID or some sort of similar ID to do that. And to put together advertising data and web analytics data, we have devised our own algorithm and our own system that allows us to pair names of campaigns, ad groups, and ad sets together with UTMs that you can find in web analytics. And this way, when this is all done, you can actually have one consolidated data set with all the data from these disparate sources. Okay, hopefully that's clear. Now, another question, will you touch base about the cookies issue? Yes, indeed, that's a very good question, quite a general one, but I think what the gentleman or lady means by this is if the cookie loss is not really a problem for attribution models. Well, it would be, the answer is it would be for, let's say, the previous generation attribution models that really were looking at the whole data set and we're just calculating everything based on that. With the machine learning approach, we're actually overcoming this issue. And Google actually recently said that they only need about 40 to 60% of the overall data to be able to calculate the impact. And we actually came to very similar numbers. So if you're losing, let's say 5% of your cookies because of ad blockers, you're losing, maybe 20% because of iOS, and you're losing another 10 or 15 because of cookie bars that, especially in some Western countries are really strict because of their interpretation of GDPR. Then you might only end up, having 50 to 60% of your data remaining. But with the machine learning approach, it's not a problem because the sessions usually behave in a similar way, whether they are sharing the cookie with you or not. There is no significant difference in the behavior of customers who click, yes, I want to be tracked, or no, I don't want to be tracked. And that's why, or even if we only have 50% of the data, the model can actually estimate what the other half is doing because it will be, very similar. And if we see that we have a certain traffic coming from a certain platform, but we don't really see what half of the traffic is doing on the web, it's not a problem, because it's probably doing the same thing the other half is doing. So that the advancement in the methods that we're using for calculating the attribution model is overcoming this issue. Okay, another question. How can one optimize and get, this one is from the chat, not from Slido. How can one optimize and get high ROI on low-priced products, $9 to $18, if we're only using Google Shopping, Google Search Ads, and Facebook? Well, I think the principle is still the same. Whether you're selling high value products like, let's say, loans, or like yachting trips, or whatever that might be, or whether you're selling a low price product, the issues are still really similar, and you need to get to some workable cost of sale, and you need to really improve the cost of sale as much as you can, and the principles behind that are still the same. Now, if you're just using 3 channels to advertise, the really smart idea would be not to be looking at the channels, but at the lower level of granularity, which is also something that revenue, as apart from maybe some other systems, really allows, because with revenue, you can have a look at your data, as we were seeing in the demonstration, through any dimension. And then dimension can be campaign, or can be even ad groups level. So maybe you're just running 3 channels, but within every channel, you might have 10 campaigns and 20 different ad groups. And I would bet you that some of those campaigns or some of those ad groups are overperforming and some are underperforming, and that's something you cannot currently see if you're just looking at last click results. So if you want, we can have a look at your case in a one-to-one session, and you can use this QR code to schedule the session. We will be more than happy to talk more about that. Right, and as I can see, we've run out of questions, so I'll give you guys maybe the last 10 seconds, and if there will be no more questions, I want to thank you very much for taking the time today in the afternoon to be here with us and to listen to some of the success that other e-commerce businesses are making. And I wish you all a really nice summer, but also improvements in your KPIs that are so important to you and to your job and to your companies. Thank you, and have a nice day, everybody.